Hello and welcome. My name is Tom.
And I'm Heather.
And you are sitting at the Couples Table.
The Couples Table is a live stream podcast here on this channel. Join us for better or worse.
For richer or poorer.
In sickness and in health.
As long as we both shall live.
Nailed it.
I saw our counter go down as soon as we actually came on screen. So whatever that means. Hello.
So smash like.
Smash, yes. Alrighty. Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
Okay.
How are you?
I am in a little bit of pain, but otherwise pretty good.
So Tom hurt his back this morning, and I had to call a physical therapist, and I was like, you know what, you need to get checked out, because you know what happens when you're in your mid-30s? Things don't work the same way they used to.
Yeah.
Everything starts to creak and tighten up and everything, and I don't know what he was doing. He was reaching for peanut butter, and then everything shut down.
No, my back was already hurting, and I just literally reached over to plug something in, like a charger, to the wall.
And then just
and it was
collapsed,
done.
basically.
Pain was extreme.
So that's our situation today.
So,
but we're doing great.
Yes. But it's been otherwise pretty fun day, pretty fun week, pretty fun, all that stuff.
Great town hall meeting. Shout out to Just Create More members here. That was so much fun. It was so great to connect with everybody, and I don't know, I just feel I love it when we do events. It always makes me happy.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely fun. So you would say that you're not burnt out on events. That's pretty good though.
Yeah.
I had to get back on topic.
Oh my goodness. I am not burnt out.
Good.
I'm feeling great.
Great. All right. Well, it's time to clear the table. That's how you overcome this right here. This was the most helpful episode ever.
You should do the roll credits like anime. You just roll credits. Sorry.
No.
Anyway, hi
yeah.
everybody. Good to see
Hello.
you.
We
Shout
should
out
check
to the
in.
pre-show crew.
I'll let you take control of that.
There's just a lot of highs, so we're just saying
A lot of
hi to
highs and
everybody.
a lot of
Hello,
lows.
hello, and
A lot of high
hello,
lows.
hello. Old men hurt their backs. 36.
Yeah.
Hello to the humans.
I just don't want to be like hurt back guy.
Dude, everything just... You're just so much more prone to injury.
It's
doing
insane.
normal things. It sucks. But
Yeah, I know.
that's why we need to keep moving, babe.
Cat still packing?
Cat's still packing.
All right.
All right.
At least Chris said at least I've got all my thick luscious hair. My wig has not fallen off today.
Let me see what you do.
What if this was a wig and I took it off and it was just shiny? That'd be fine, right? Nothing wrong with that.
Oh, that looks great. You got quite the
Quite the floof.
the height.
The height. I know. It got
Look at
really.
the
Look,
height.
it's really tall. Why is it so tall?
No, don't do
Oh,
it
sorry.
forward, you-
Sorry. Okay. This is compelling podcasting.
Okay, sorry. So, why did we pick burnout as the topic? I wrote down some notes, but there was a...
Well, I think the thing that...
Well, first of all, you're burnt out on burnout.
Yeah.
Because you feel like everyone's talking about it and you're just over
Well, I just
it.
feel like we've talked about it a lot, and it's something you hear about, like burnout. And I'm not discrediting the feeling of someone who feels burnt out when they're doing something, but it's also like, I don't know. What if you're just also still enjoying what you're doing and having fun with it, and that's okay, and you don't like have to feel burnt out, and like that's not like...
Right.
I don't like that's not a milestone where you want to hit it where it's like, oh man, I've gotten to the point in my content creator journey where I'm burnt out. That means I'm legit. Like, no. You know, and I think it's important to get those feelings out, but at a certain point it's like it just sort of becomes this like whirlpool of negativity that's not necessarily super helpful. And we were kind of talking about that, and then you brought up something we're going to talk about a little bit later, which is like a study. And essentially what it comes down to is that burnout is a term. It's sort of a catch-all term that means a lot of different things. It reminded me of in the old days when people would say like someone died of fever, and you're like, they just got really sick with a whole bunch of stuff. We don't know what it was,
Just
and they
call it
died.
fever.
So it's fever.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is that specifically? Whereas now, you know, for the most part, you can get things diagnosed and be like, it's this is what you have. And I feel like burnout is sort of that thing, like, oh, you're burnt out. But it can mean literally like two different people saying they feel burnt out could mean two entirely different things. And I don't know. I think that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It just sort of like ties into a bunch of stuff. We've been talking a lot about comments, positive, negative comments all week, and that sort of stuff. And
yeah. The reason why I wanted to talk about it is because being that this, you know, the Couples Table is a podcast where we have conversations as full-time YouTube creators and content creators. I think these discussions are important because I think this is kind of the reason why there is burnout is because these conversations are not as prevalent as they should be, especially in the creator space that in the grand scheme of things is still new. We're still going through the first generation of people who are like, what do you do with this? How is this done? Yeah. And you know, I was telling Tom earlier, content creation seems so easy because it's so accessible. Anybody with a phone can do it.
Yeah, it's
Ryan's
cute.
World
It's
or whatever
You have a channel
has
that's
millions
cute.
of dollars. He's
Making
just a
videos.
kid.
It's
Yeah,
cute.
like anybody can
Kid
make
just
videos.
opens up toys on
Yeah,
camera. There's no other
so
thought that goes
easy.
into it.
And it's the fact that like this is a new space that is constantly evolving. You have to have some kind of like adventurous spirit to be able to want to navigate this long term, because I think that, you know, there's you could say that everybody's going to try, and then you're going to have all these people that are going to drop off the first thing something happens that's like hard or difficult. What happened?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but Finley has been freaking out. He's trying to get this bone that's next to Ben.
Oh, let me go get
But he like is scared to get it, and he's been whining about it. But he's scared to go close to Ben. There we go. He's very happy now. Look at that happy corgi there. Oh boy. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it was like so distracting to me and adorable also.
So
Can you see him how happy he is? Oh, well, you see his feet. You know he's happy. And Ben didn't even notice. Sorry.
Yeah, so people think content creation is so easy, but I'm trying to wrap all my thoughts in a succinct statement, but it might just come out like word barf. But
this is a couple stable. There's no room for succinctness here.
But if you so to me, so what's so exciting about content creation to me is that it is accessible, and people of all different kinds of backgrounds, experiences, like you don't need a college degree. Anybody can honestly make a living, start a business, and have this be their full-time job. Case in point, right? The problem is that I feel like with every other profession, you have, because there's been several generations of people who have gone through that profession. You have preparation, you have education, you have mentors, you have, people that genuinely care about you and don't have some kind of ulterior motive to help you like manage expectations and be prepared. Just like you were talking about with teachers, you kind of already know, okay, you're going to have punks in your class. You're going to have to deal with kids.
Half of teacher education is classroom management and behavioral stuff, right? Because like you're literally getting to the brain physiology of why a 14-year-old is going to act like a maniac after 11 minutes of sitting still.
If you go into healthcare, you know that there's a risk that when you're working with patients, someone could die, someone's, symptoms can get worse, and there's a whole training on like how
even
to mentally deal with
retail and like restaurant and stuff, you get
customer
trained on how your customers and what to deal in this situation and accommodate and all this kind of stuff. There is a lot of training on managing the expectations of others.
And it's incredibly frustrating as a YouTube creator, and then also as a YouTube coach who cares very deeply about the people that she works with, that the general advice for people who are feeling burnout because of these things, like, okay, say, I'm getting burnt out because maybe you got one too many negative comments and they're starting to bother you, but the advice there is just like, just ignore it. Well, would you tell that to someone who's like a nurse whose family member just passed away, and then you were affected by the family who is obviously like upset that their family member passed away? Just ignore it. Just don't let it bother you.
It's part of the job.
Yeah, I just don't feel like that's helpful. I think that is dehumanizing, and I think that we're telling people to just not feel emotion, and that's everything from like, this is YouTube. It's supposed to be fun. It's content creation. It's just, look, you're just playing games, and then it's so dismissed. And I think it's because, so who's the leading generation going through this content creation? It's young people. It's, people that make it look really, really fun. And so there's this like, I don't know, I just feel like there isn't as many resources and prep and, and then like right now, I know I'm talking about a million things, but who are we leaving this to? The platforms, so YouTube is going to do a whole creator mental health initiative,
which is just take a break,
which is stupid because like they don't know who any of us are. They can't, most of what they do is catered to the top creators of the platform, which is fine. They're a business. That's their prerogative. I'm not holding that against them, but like if we're talking about us or creators that are going to start tomorrow and stuff like that, it's a tough world to navigate that I want to make sure these conversations happen so that people understand what to expect, because I think that helps them set themselves up for success, because this is an awesome thing that we get to do. There's so many benefits to it, but to dismiss someone's burnout as like just ignore the comments or like just make another video or just
you should get a real job.
It's just so like I don't think that does. I don't think that helps anybody. But to circle to this study, so there's the largest open market study that was published this week on Tuesday. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen it. But it's called From Dependence to Independence: The Rise of the Independent Creator, and it's a 23-page white paper.
So we're on page 7, but here's the...
Yeah, and it was funded by Mighty Networks, which is why I know about it. And actually, I'm in it. My picture's in it. And I'm like, oh, but like...
She's the perfect case study. You want to see the person who's doing it better than anybody.
But what I like about this study is that it spans platforms. It's not just YouTubers. It's not just Instagram creators or, you know, streamers or bloggers. It's multiple platforms. And it starts off with kind of like what is it like to be a content creator from the creator standpoint? Like creators who are actually making an income as a content creator, what is it really like? And that is the part that I feel like we do not hear enough about. We see on the news like, wow, here's like this huge YouTuber doing a really cool thing, and like all these awesome, like millions, like all these huge numbers that get tossed around. But it's like, okay, most of us who are making an income are probably not, you know, making what, you know, we're not at that level. So if you scroll down like a couple pages, there's some data right here. So they're saying that, okay, the picture isn't so pretty. So creators are hitting glass ceiling. For example, 93% of creators say that being a creator has introduced stresses that have negatively impacted their lives. Big emotional lows. Creators feel overworked and underpaid.
Big emotional lows is going to be my new channel banner slogan.
And if you scroll down, nearly 25% of all creators admit they have real doubts that they'll ever be able to reach their final financial goals without burning out. And then 70% say that a dip in earnings and an algorithm change could have a serious effect on their life. I mean, I can say that's
Would
true.
70% of your income disappearing affect your life? Yes.
No. 70% of creators say that a dip in earnings. Oh.
Right. Yeah. Right. 70%,
yeah.
not 70. Okay, a dip, not a 70%.
Yeah.
Got it.
33% have felt anger, rage, or extreme frustration with major social media platforms as they navigate this uncertainty. And I think that's what it comes down to, uncertainty. You know, other professions, they're not as uncertain. And entrepreneurship in general, if you wanted to go to Main Street and open up a business, you know that, okay, this is the demographic, this is the proximity of people that are going to come here. I can probably, you know, name off the same customers that I'm going to have, and here are the ways to advertise and all that. Content creation, all the variables are constantly changing. It's crazy. And I think a big contributor to burnout is the fact that it is constantly changing. So we think like, oh, you're a content creator, you just make content.
Just create that content.
I don't think that the answer is to create more content most of the time in 2021.
That's what we talked about a few months ago, because when I was feeling bummed out and things weren't working, my answer was make more, just do more, just make more. It didn't actually solve the problem at all. And
if anything, it makes you more stressed.
If anything, it made it worse. Yeah.
I feel like I've been talking.
So I have a lot of thoughts. You laid a very nice foundation with your words.
Yeah. So like my point is that I know this sounds not good.
This is also just one part of the study.
Yeah, the study is like really optimistic. So I definitely encourage you to read it. You can go to newcreatormanifesto.com, and they propose solutions. I mean, if you've listened to From 1 to 100 and heard me talk about the passion economy, it's very much in line with that, which is why I'm like super excited about it, because there's actually like a study backing up this thesis that I've been exploring for the past few months. But there's ways that, you know, as consumer behavior is shifting, the impact of 2020 on the, you know, creator economy and online businesses and all of that, there is a clear trend and things that you can do to kind of sustain success as a content creator. So that's why definitely go read it, and I'm in the middle of making a video about it, but this is why I thought it was worth the conversation, because it's different for everybody, and I think that's the tricky part. It's just different for everybody.
That's a tough thing, and I think we've talked about this for you being a YouTube coach is, you know, there's multiple people out there who are like YouTube coaches, advisors, whatever, and there's different approaches, there's some overlap, and I like there's not one answer. It's not just this is what you do, because also you talked about who we're going to leave this to, the platforms. It's easy to look at YouTube as one of many websites that you might visit or check out or follow people on or whatever, but YouTube as a platform is now rapidly approaching 1/3 of the Earth's population. Like how do you even so put yourself in a YouTube I'm not trying to excuse a platform for like anything they do wrong, but put yourself in like an executive role in that situation. how where do you even begin trying to accommodate 1/3 of the Earth's population with policies and procedures and where to even put a little button, what color a thing is like.
Well, that, and like, again, it's constantly changing. So for 10 years, Instagram, oh no, not 10 years, or however long we've had the feature of Instagram stories, people with 10,000 subscribers or followers or less were not allowed to put links in their stories until yesterday.
Oh, you can't?
Do you know? Check my story, babe.
I always forget.
No, you can't.
I check everybody's stories, and then I forget about stories for 3 weeks, and then I'm like, oh yeah, look at all these fun things. I actually like them better than post, but I forget they're there all the time.
Yeah, so now you can't, and that is a huge shift in business. Okay, yeah. It's like telling someone, hey, there's going to be a new like street that leads to your business. That's a big.
I didn't know about
difference.
That. I'll post some stories.
Right, but and then like YouTube Shorts, that used to not be a thing. Now it is a thing, and it's a big focus for YouTube. So what happens if you're not creating shorts? How is that going to have an impact on your channel, et cetera, et cetera? And because these things always change, it's like, oh, it's no wonder that people feel burnt out. I saw
I was just going through the
comment here. Chris in progress. Let's hope Doc doesn't show up to this stream. Doc does have some strong feelings about the V word. Yeah, I think it's important to talk about. And I think that if people, I think by saying that, I don't know what Doc's feelings are on burnout.
I think Doc's perspective on burnout is you're doing a thing that you love and you're passionate about.
Oh.
You won't get tired of it.
Yeah. And
it's a weird thing because, again, it's different for everybody. So it's not like, well, I don't get tired of it. You do get to, like, it's just everybody's experience is different. And I can say I've recently going through the transition of the thing that I used to do in all my free time is now what I have to do in my full time. So what do I do in my free time? Well, it's more of that because that's what I like to do in my free time, but that means I never don't do it. It's not like, it's a weird, it's like not burnout as so much as like I don't know what it is, but.
Well, see, that's why burnout is the catch-all word.
Yeah.
And to dismiss burnout like it doesn't happen, or to say like, oh, you must not be passionate about the content you're creating, to me is like invalidating how people feel.
But here's my example that I've been going with, which I told you because Heather's been obsessed with a new hobby lately.
Oh, yeah.
That she's been practicing a lot. And I was talking to her about when I learned how to play guitar and I learned how to play drums. I would want to play them all the time because it was the only thing I was thinking about was new guitar song, new drum song. And I'm like, I'm going to practice every day. I'm going to get really good. And then, I might be trying to learn a song or a skill or something. And it just wasn't like my fingers weren't moving the way I wanted them to move. And I would just not play for a day or two. And I would come back and suddenly like literally first thing back, like I could do the thing. And I don't know what that is, but I've heard other musicians talk about that. And that's something that's happened to me countless times over the years. And it's an interesting thing. It's like you leave and then everything sort of settles in your brain in a certain way. I know it's not an exact comparison, but then you come back and you're actually better at it and then you enjoy it a little more. And in my case, I feel like that's sort of how I feel, where it's not like I'm burnt out and I want to stop, but sometimes just putting it on pause and going over here for whatever reason, then when I come back, I'm like better at it and I have a better appreciation for it. And somehow like things have leveled up. I don't know what like churns in the brain and then settles somewhere, or, your subconscious works some stuff out or whatever it might be. But I have actually found that to be really, really helpful.
Well, to me, it's like, okay, say you're super passionate, like you baking cupcakes gives you life. Okay, like this is what you want to do. You're all about like the creativity of cupcakes and coming up with different flavors and whatever. You have like the best cupcakes in the whole world. And you have a store on Main Street, right?
Cupcake Emporium.
The Cupcake Emporium. And then like, you have a system. You've built up a business and you're good, right? And then one day your city's like, we are going to demolish the street that people use to get to your business.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out a new way. And that's the reality of entrepreneurship. I mean, COVID, right? People had to change their businesses all this. Like, these are things that are going to happen all the time. I'm not saying it's impossible, but imagine that, but like amplified, because YouTube is our main street, right? these platforms are our main street, and they do not have our specific best interest in mind. They have their own best interest in mind. So think of it as like, you know, I don't know, like say you have your cupcake is located in Disneyland. Like Disneyland wouldn't care if you're successful. They just want people to come to Disneyland in general. And if that means that, churros are more popular, we should put the churros more, you know, like funnel people there more, and no input from you. They don't even care who you are. That could be incredibly frustrating, especially if we're looking at this as like we are trying to make a living. So I understand where the burnout comes from. That's why I think it's important to have these conversations.
There's a few things I wanted to point out here, because I didn't know if you'd heard anything about this, but Robotrix asked, saw something about new YouTube monetization. I haven't heard anything, but then you mentioned Instagram stuff, so maybe I'm out of the loop. Did YouTube change something that you know of?
I don't know.
Cool. And then Bailey, this is fun. It's a funny thing. Like, what? No sliding cam? Do you only get that special stuff? We were talking about comments and things. When I use the sliding camera and it moves, I like the way that it looks, and a lot of people like it, but I also get feedback that people hate it. And now every time I go to set it up, I'm like, it gets in my head, and so I just haven't been using it. Because the reason they hate it isn't a stylistic thing. It's like a motion thing, like the weird parallax thing. That doesn't make them feel good. And I'm like, okay, if that's 0.003% of people that are watching, like, it might just be like, sorry, you have to listen to this episode and not watch it because, you know. But if that's like a decent number of people, then I don't want them to literally get sick when they watch stuff that I make. So I don't know. Anyway, that's why there's no slider.
So much resilience required for the content creation long game.
Yes.
Ken says, internet trolls have been a thing since the internet was a thing, though. There's not really much to do about faceless comments, but I hear you, Heather.
The thing is, so...
I mean, to me, negative comments... Sorry, I totally just cut you off. I love you with all my heart. I'm so sorry. I was just... You were like... Duh, and I was like...
It's fine.
Sorry, let me just say this one thought.
Yeah.
I think negative comments are like this much of the entire burnout spectrum. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, well, they're also, I mean, one of the most agreed upon thing by any creator of any platform I've talked to is that most of their comments are positive.
Yeah.
But for some reason, human nature, whatever you want to call it, the negative ones stick out. And so when you talk about like, well, pay attention to them or ignore them, I personally feel like it's more like contextualize them, meaning if you get the comment, you know, like Ken was saying, internet trolls, where it's someone who just shows up and is just like, you're ugly and you're stupid and no one's ever loved you and blah, 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 blah. And profanity or whatever. It's like, this has nothing to do with me. I was the thing they happened to click on. Like this would have been anywhere. Like I was just caught in the crossfire of this person's like sad insanity. So that's fine. Like that really does roll off the back. You don't really think about it. But then, and there's the other ones though, where it's like, you know, I would say most of the people here who are like regular commenters, if they left a like negative or kind of harshly critical comment on one of my videos, it would hit very different. And I would like really kind of think like, okay, because that's someone who's familiar, right? You know, not just the channel and the videos, but you kind of know where I'm coming from. You know, some of the goals, you know, some of the like the behind the scenes stuff. And now like this feedback is like a little bit different. Versus then, you know, somebody, you know, like when someone shows up in one of my videos and they're like, stop with the stupid jokes. I'm like, okay, the jokes are stupid. That is the point. So this channel's probably not for you then. And, you know, obviously most people who leave comments are like making dumb jokes themselves. So it's like, that's just not for that person. But taking a thing and contextualizing it, but that's hard to do because that means you are paying attention to everything. And I wish that psychologically the positive stuff, I try sometimes to really think like someone says, you know, this video is super helpful, totally, you know, made my life easier by showing me how to do blah, blah, blah. And I try to sit there and go like, this is awesome. And like really think about like this person had a question or was interested in something. They saw my video, they enjoyed it, and now they know how to do something or their problem was solved or they were entertained or whatever it is. That's really cool. Like, let's enjoy that for a second and not just flip through it. But for some reason, it just doesn't hit the same way as when someone, you know, is like, it's whatever dumb thing people want to say. Yeah. And different topics lead to different dumb things. But anyway, I know we weren't focusing on comments. But.
Yeah, I was trying to find a comment because there's a great example of one that would stick.
Well, it's like, and there's certain ones too that come into like points of pride, like not points of pride, but this morning, for example, on my Mac Mini video, someone left a comment. My Mac Mini video that says the cheapest Apple Mac Mini is the most powerful computer I've ever used. This guy was like, if this is the most powerful computer you've ever used, clearly you've never used that many computers. Hyperbole like this is completely off-putting. Bye. And of course, I banned him to the Shadow Realm. But like, it was like, okay. One, the number of computers I've used is completely irrelevant. And two, like, the whole video is literally me showing how, like, it's this weird thing where, like, at this point, old enough to hurt my back plugging in chargers, I've been using computers longer than a lot of my viewers have been alive. And I think that counts for something. And so when I bring forth a thought, I'm not just randomly like spouting off nonsense. It's not because like some company paid me to say it. I'm literally telling you like, hey, this $600 computer is awesome and is like super powerful. It's going to change the way you think about what it means to have 8 gigabytes of RAM. And I don't need some idiot telling me that like I don't know what computers are. Anyway, that's just a small detail, but like it's just like it's those little things. Like I had someone who was like, you focus on audio. Why do you put like terrible sounding audio into your videos? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like clearly your headphones are broken, but I can't explain that to you. But like anyway, sorry.
Let's see. Could burnout on this get worse if you are a part-time content creator after dealing with a full-time job?
I can safely say there's speaking from personal experience, there's no correlation between doing this full-time, doing this part-time, and burnout. I have not found a correlation at all. If anything, it'd be the opposite, because when you have your full-time job and content creation as a side thing, it's like easier to derive joy out of it, and there's less pressure of needing to hit certain metrics or needing it to perform a certain way, generally speaking. So if anything, I would say it's kind of the opposite. But yeah, I haven't personally found a correlation.
Miel says, becoming a content creator is the #1 ideal job for young people today. However, there are 8 million Twitch streamers today, and only the top 1984 make over $50K a year.
So this ties into what my thought is, which might be a very unpopular opinion. And that is, I think we're dealing with, I don't know how to say this.
Oh, really?
And I think this study is showing it right here. I really don't know how to like put my head around this.
Oh, tell me more. Do I even know what you're going to say?
I don't know. I don't know if we've talked about this. It goes back to Ratatouille, as do most things in life.
The movie?
Yes.
Or the dish?
With the mouse was the cook. In the movie, there's the book that the mouse finds that he's obsessed with all the recipes, and it's called like Anyone Can Cook. And he loves it because it's this empowering idea that anyone can cook. And at the end, the spirit of the chef, spoiler alert from the movie from 2007, by the way, spoiler alert, the chef says it's not that anyone can cook, but it's that a great cook can come from anyone.
Oh,
and
I'm like reacting like I haven't seen the movie 3 times.
It's a great movie.
That's so good.
But what that means, though, is that not everyone is going to be a great cook. You might be bad at it, and you might just constantly mess up recipes, and you might not understand how different flavors go together, and you just might not be able to do it. But it also means that anyone from even the most humble beginnings could, if they give themselves the chance, become a great cook. I feel like content creation is kind of the same thing. It is open to anyone, but not anyone can actually do it in a way. I don't want to say great, like, oh my God, your content is blowing away, like but great in terms of sustainable, valuable, practical, at a certain level of skill that appeals, whatever platform you're using, like, it's something that an audience could connect with. Not everybody can do that. Not everyone can do that. And I think a lot of the conversation over the past few years has gone towards, this is for everybody, this is for everybody, this is new, this is for everybody. And then you end up with a whole bunch of people who like sort of have expected more than they were probably going to get from it, because they've been, in a way, falsely promised the idea that like it is for everybody, when it's open to everybody, but it's not for everybody, if that makes sense.
I disagree.
You do?
Yeah.
Because I totally don't. I feel pretty firmly about this.
Yeah.
Because the thing, so.
But I like that we disagree about it.
It reminds me of right before this, we had our town hall meeting with the Just Create More community. And you were talking about one thing we do are member spotlights, we're doing for a while, where every week you kind of like spotlight a member. But in order to do that, that member has to kind of like answer some questions, provide a photo. They have to do like a little bit of homework. And you were saying that one of the reasons we wanted to stop doing that was because it felt like we were dumping work onto people who are already busy. And maybe that wasn't it. And multiple people in that thing stood up and said, like, no, we should do this. Like, that should be a little bit of extra work if they're getting featured. And there was brainstorming on how to make it a little more seamless and a little smoother. But it struck me as like, yeah, these are people who are paying to be part of a community. They're pushing themselves to achieve more. They're like, that is a very different mentality than somebody who says, I want to be a Twitch streamer. So they film themselves silently playing a game for 4 hours. And they're like, why am I not monetized? It's like, because you're really bad at this.
Yeah.
And you're not even trying to get better.
Right. That
person's not going to make it. They could probably figure it out if they really wanted to. But having worked with high school students for a decade, which is, I'm not speaking on teenagers specifically, but a sample of thousands of people who are exploring career options. Certain people have that thing where they're going to try to figure something out. They're going to push themselves. They're going to learn more. And other people have the thing where they kind of just sort of sit there until they get pushed off wherever they end up. And it's just the way different people are. And I think that's what I mean when it's like, if you're really committed, if you have no technical skills, and you're scared of being on camera and all that kind of stuff, but you really like, you have this inner thing of like, I want to make something and share it and put it out there. I believe you could get good at it, and you could. But if you're the person who's like, I'm just going to do, turn on the thing, do this, talk. Why is nobody following me? Why is nobody? Well,
right.
Why would they?
Yeah. And I agree with that too. So like the thing that I disagree on is that the reason why I think everyone can do this is because it does span age, profession, experience level,
right?
Like literally anybody from all over the world. You just need a device that can connect to the internet. That is it.
Yeah.
And I like that viewpoint. The thing that I would what is it called, amend to your thing, is that I don't think that everyone who is going to take Mihal, what he was saying, 1900 Twitch streamers make over 50K a year. Yeah, because all they do is stream on Twitch. Out of 8 million, only 1900 are going to make 50K 100% solely streaming on Twitch. That's where I'm like, yeah, if you're only going to if you're only going to do one thing and offer one thing among a sea of 8 million people, it's going to be really hard to compete with. Whereas in this study, how do we share the screen?
You can just push this.
Okay, so here's, according to the study, how creators make money today. And you can see there's revenue sharing of advertising, paid subscriptions, tips from fans, creator funds, brand sponsorships, community events, online courses, community memberships, affiliate links, merch sales. I think Tom does all of these things. I think you could say, except for creator funds.
I don't know what that is.
That's like Instagram's going to pay you, YouTube's going to pay you. Yeah. So, but you can see there's multiple sources of income, but so yes, everybody can do this. Anybody could do this, but you have to have the savvy and the dedication to understand how to build all this. This is not just streaming on Twitch. This is do you understand what it means to position yourself where you're signing a contract, you are brand friendly, you know how to set up that partnership, you know how to package your knowledge into a course that you can sell, and you have to learn how to do all that. That's the part where there's no prep. It is open season, and freaking it's just all for themselves.
Well, that's why I think now it currently takes a certain kind of person to do all of that and to figure that out and to want to figure that out, because it's also like you could even have someone who's capable of doing all that and figuring all out, but they're like, this is so much work and not fun. I'll just do something else, or I'll just, I will just have my regular full-time job and I will do this on the side where I don't care at all what comes from it, which is completely okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just my thought.
But just to, and kind of turn it into the optimistic part of this, because I don't want to just leave it.
Oh, look, it's Heather's picture. That's the optimistic part right there.
Hey, what up? Let's see. So basically, this study talks about the rise of the independent creator who abides by these 4 things. So they own, they don't rent, which means that, like, yes, YouTube is where you get your people, but it's a funnel to your platform where, that's your online course, your online community. It's, whatever. You go niche, not broad. You cultivate communities, not just audiences, and you build a network effect where every person who joins the community makes the whole community better, and not just like, I'm just going to create content. I'm going to post content here. I'm going to do shorts. I'm going to do live streams. I'm going to, twice a week. I mean, that's literally not sustainable, especially if you're still growing. Like, this is a recipe for burnout right here.
Yeah.
Or not,
really,
not
well,
the conveyor belts.
It makes so much sense. And like I said, I've done this myself, where you just think the more you put in, the more you get out, because that's how so many things in life work, right? If you have an hourly job and you work more hours, right, you get more money on your paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing,
not
like,
how it happens.
Yeah, I mean, it has absolutely nothing to do with that. And I've personally tried, both out of desperation and out of curiosity, like, what if I made more videos? What if I streamed this? What if I did this, mix match this? And like, literally nothing has compared to just sort of regularly releasing a video that a decent number of people are interested in. That is the recipe. Which I can't even do every time, but you're hammering a stone into another stone. Where's the abacus? Question for Tom. For cozy sets for podcasts, sometimes the dark fabric around is great, but lighting is important. I mean, that's just all personal preference. The thing to remember, just as you're setting up a set or lighting, is that dark things will absorb light and light things will reflect light. So sometimes people, actually, we're talking about this in Just Create More a while ago, but sometimes you might set up dark stuff around you and then you get your bright lights and you're like, God, it's still so dark in here. And it's because all the dark stuff is absorbing the light. And then other times, like, I have done this in here. I set up my exposure and everything for making a video, and then I close this white door that's right behind the camera, and everything changes because so much white is now being reflected back. So it's just paying attention to lighting and doing a lot of tests and experimentation and stuff like that. Megan, I think some people don't realize that work and time, the work and time.
And that's because we'll always have the exception to the rule, where someone who started way after you made 2 videos and went viral,
Well, I mean, look,
like,
I don't think that's even. So my last job teaching, right? I started at a school where I got hired at that school to start a digital media program. And it just happened to be when that school was also finishing being rebuilt. So suddenly there were people who had been literally there for 20 or 30 years. And suddenly I showed up and I was given an amazing brand new classroom. I was given a really good budget to get equipment and stuff. I was given the freedom to create my own curriculum, and people were excited about it. And like, students were getting to choose to be in the class. It was like, why is this guy getting all this special treatment? He just showed up out of nowhere. They didn't see the part before that where I had like spent years building up a program that had been falling apart. They didn't see the part where I had been working with that school site's administrators for a year to even plan out that program. They didn't see the part where I was teaching in a portable classroom that didn't even have like a bookshelf, much less technology. They didn't see the student teaching that was unpaid. They didn't see any of that stuff. They just saw the like sort of the fruits of it. And who could blame them, right? Like, in their position, who could blame if that's all the evidence they had to go off of?
Right.
But it was very frustrating to me to be like, no, like, the reason I'm in this position is because I like am qualified to be, not because, like, I don't know, my parent owns the school or something.
I get that a lot in my community. I want to grow my following, but I don't like being consistent. What else can I do? And I'm like, that's the thing. It's just, the thing is, like, I don't even think it's about consistency anymore, because I was telling Tom this earlier. YouTube is at a point where it's probably showing you more content from channels that you're not subscribed to. Instagram is definitely at a point where I'm seeing more, like, by far, I see more content from brands than people that I know. And I'm also following brands, so that helps.
But I think consistency doesn't necessarily mean like
Success.
I upload a video every Thursday at 5:15 a.m. PDT or Pacific time, whatever you want to call it. That's just my own thing, and that's like a very traditional idea of consistency. But I think consistency is like, okay, if you're the cupcake person, if I follow you, if I'm in your world, I'm going to see you pop up fairly regularly talking about cupcakes. So if I see a video from you, it's going to be a cupcake recipe. If I happen to see you on Twitter, you're going to be talking about, a mixer. If I follow you on Instagram, you're posting, like, it's not that you're doing it 24/7 all the time, but it's just sort of like regularly enough. Like
that's what you're known for.
You never totally fall off the radar with something. There's always something related to what you do on the radar. And with something like YouTube, the more you do it, you grow this library. So maybe you don't post a video for a while, but you have a library of videos that are still getting sent out. So a video from 2 years ago is now the thing that's consistently popping up in somebody's feed.
Yeah.
Which is still, I think, one of the best things about YouTube, because the stuff you make doesn't disappear in a day.
Yeah.
And that's
there was
amazing.
A quote in this study that I was like, oh, everyone's going to love this. Not that one.
I gotta say, the formatting and branding on this is really nice. So whoever did it, good job.
Now at any given time, I can do whatever I want. If I don't want to post on Instagram for 2 months, I can do that. When it comes to posting or not posting, nothing hurts me. I think this is like the future of content creation, if not the...
I can't personally get over that idea of that would be wonderful. I cannot imagine it currently for me.
Yeah. So I'm curious. You should read this. I'm curious to see what you think.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's on my computer now, so I can totally do that.
But that's... So I'm approaching this from multiple angles because, I think burnout's part of the conversation, but then also like the future of the creator space and like even where platforms are going and what they expect of creators. Because I think the worst part about being a content creator is that you can almost be someone who's working for a platform for free with no protections, no employee benefits, nothing. And if you stopped uploading, YouTube would not care.
Right.
That's a horrible position to be in, but that's kind of the reality. So it's just like knowing that, okay, instead of you being used by YouTube, feeling you have to constantly pray to the algorithm gods, how can you use YouTube as a tool to help you do what you want to do, right? Have YouTube work for you. And I think that's just a better place to be. But in order for that to happen, you have to be diversifying your income. You have to be, understanding or developing business savvy and all of this. It goes beyond I'm just going to sit here for 8 hours and stream on Twitch.
It's crazy. That's why I'm still
or create content on so many platforms and all these things.
I'm still so fascinated by creators who have been, I've mentioned it a long time, but MKBHD, I just mean
for decades.
The people who've been doing it, I mean for well over a decade, and are still good at it, still seem to enjoy it, still always getting better at it, and have managed
no controversy.
Well, yeah, the part of just being smart with themselves, but if you look at someone like iJustine, you look at a recent video versus an old video, you can it's the same person doing a version of the same thing. So they've kept that consistency, but they have also evolved over the years. As YouTube has changed and trends and what the audience wants, they have also changed what they do. Is fascinating to me because you as a creator can dial in something where this is working. I know how to do it. I'm really good at it. The audience seems to like it. The platform seems to like it. All is well. And then suddenly, boop, it just shifts. And you're like, wait, I haven't changed anything, but it's not doing well anymore. And it's well, something changed. So then you have to somehow adapt. And the people who've been able to successfully do that many, many times is really fascinating to me. And I would like to know how they do
that. Tom, your imitation of your heckler's voice tone has me instigated.
Sorry, that's how I read all my comments.
It's like singing. Anyone can sing. You can enjoy singing, but not everyone can make a living singing.
Right. I can rock out in the car, but no one's going to pay for a ticket for that.
Side note,
Yay!
my buck stop item just came in. Thanks. It's a crazy world, but I'm so thankful that we are able to connect online.
And now you can keep all the dust out of your roadcaster.
Can we do this really quick, Aubrey?
What's it? Ooh.
It's like...
What is this?
She's opening it right now.
Oh, like it literally just came in. Oh, boy. Yeah, so...
Aubrey just texted me this photo. It's her opening the
Road Cover Pro.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah, so last week we opened up the buck stop where everyone sold out the things. I shipped everything out on Friday, and today is the day that most of the stuff is arriving to everybody. Some people got their stuff yesterday or earlier, but today's most of it. So it's really cool. Like, people have been posting pictures of their thing and sending it. It's like, wow, it's really, really cool. And it's so much better than having stuff that's not getting used, right? Now the things have like homes and they're getting used and appreciated. And that's awesome. Ken got the pod mic.
Is knowing how to make it work going to be what the future generations will have to learn in university?
In this week's episode of Old Man Yells at Kids to Get Off Lawn, I was reading a thing yesterday from some teachers, and I felt bad for this. And this is
Why'd you feel bad, Tom?
This is a general statement from a thread of teachers who were venting. So I'm going to put that there. And somebody said, like, unpopular opinion, but why are kids so dumb? And you rarely hear that from teachers. And I was like, interesting, because...
Click.
Yeah, let me see what this is about. And it was sort of talking about the idea that, which I definitely saw in students, even in, the decade that I was a teacher, it really did change a lot. The idea that going from... hey, I don't know how to do this. Like, let me figure it out. Let me ask questions. Let me get help. To like, this doesn't work. I'm done.
Right.
Like maybe if everything works well and all the stars align, then I will do stuff versus like, and we have people here, like, we have young people and students in our chat here who I think exemplify the idea of like, I'm interested in this. So I'm going to actively figure it out. Hey, like my school has resources for this. I'm going to take advantage of those. And that's, my experience was with students, but I think it also applies to adults as well. But the reason I bring this up was there were a bunch of elementary school teachers talking about like their first graders and second graders and stuff. So kids who are like 7, 8, maybe into 9 years old. And they were saying that in their careers, this is the first generation of students who had been plopped in front of iPads from like infancy. And that was their main thing which, I mean, you see that constantly, right? Like kids this was an example, actually, when a kid's in a store, you used to see parents like pushing him in the cart, even if the kid was bored to death in the cart, just like staring out at like the clothes racks or whatever. But now you see kids in the cart with like an iPad or a phone or whatever. And I know this sounds like, boy, these bad phones and things like that. But the more interesting thing, and I read a bunch of these studies when I was in college for English, was how vocabulary builds with children. And there's such a correlation between families that used like, I forget what's called, like performative language. So if the main percentage of things they said to their kids was like, go clean your room, go wash the dishes, go take out the trash, it was just do this, do that, commands, like we just need nuts and bolts of getting things done, versus, hey, what'd you do in school today? Oh, we read this story. Did you know that the author of that story, like, were you actually having conversations? Or even just a movie, like, oh, how does this Star Wars episode fit into like the overall trilogy? And you just have like discussions about things. Those kids have insanely better vocabularies, comprehension, critical thinking skills, which of course makes sense.
Right, they can express themselves. Yeah.
And so the thing that the teachers were talking about, I promise this is all connected, was that the kids that had just been plopped in front of iPads, they had nobody contextualizing things for them. They had nobody trying to then take those skills and build upon them. It was just sort of up to whatever they were watching. And a lot of kids will just, it might be YouTube and it's just whatever is recommended next or however it works. And it's kind of just a lot of empty calories. And now those kids are showing up, and then this has been backed up by like test scores, which is a whole nother thing, but that middle school and high school students are showing up with the reading skills of like third graders. And point being, going back to the point here of like, what are we leaving and what's the next generation and stuff, I think there's going to be an even sharper divide between people who really have taken an active role in becoming interested in things like this and understanding platforms and building these skills and, you know, following their curiosity, and people who have been completely passive almost since childbirth. And I mean, I think it's just going to be a huge gap. Like, it's actually going to get wider, whereas you would kind of think it would close because everybody's been, you know, digitally native since the womb.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't
That's
know
interesting
what to make of that, but that is just the thing that I'm seeing. So I guess the long and short of it is the long and short of it is there is no specific way. It's not like step 1, step 2, step 3, follow the, like you're building a Lego set, you follow the instruction, at the end you have your Lego kit. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, here's a bunch of tools, but you have to decide what you're going to build with them and which tools you are going to use, which you're not going to use, what each tool does, how they work together. You're probably going to mess up a whole bunch and then have to keep building something. And that just takes a certain kind of person to power through and do that. Anyway, that concludes this week's episode of Achy Man
That is
Yells
so
at
the
Kids.
opposite of my experience of young people.
I don't know which. I mean, because speaking personally, like my students in my digital media program, the vast majority were amazing and like
stellar.
Yeah. But that's also, you know, it was 10% of my school campus's population where like other kids were literally eating soap and stuff because they were bored. You know, like, I don't know.
Tide Pods?
Yeah.
Don't do that, by the way. How do you continue to create topics that don't sound like you are just rinsing and repeating the same topics over and over again? I have no idea.
Are we able to do that?
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, the extent of how if you're talking specifically about the couple stable, the extent of our thinking is like, what do we actually want to talk about? And for example, for this episode, both of us were like, oh, maybe there's something here where we can make an overall topic. And then we cut the conversation off so that we can have it. We could save it for on screen. We're like, okay, we'll talk about it in 30 minutes. We'll talk about
There's other stuff too, though. If you're talking more broadly, there are some creators I watch, like Luke Towan comes to mind. He's the scale modeler from Australia. He does dioramas and like ultra realistic miniature scenes. And if you watch a lot of the basic process at the beginning of like mixing the mold to do the foundation and all that kind of stuff is the same. And he has tons of videos and he kind of just explains it every time. He's explained the same process at different times. And I think that it's not that he's repeating, but he knows that like this could be somebody's, this could be somebody's, you know, 8th video that they've watched, or it could be the first person. And if someone's never watched one before, they're gonna be very confused on how you made a mountain out of this like pile of mushy stuff over here. So let me explain how to do that. And I think we've all seen, you probably all had channels where it's like, they do kind of have to say some of the same stuff over and over and over again because it just fits in the context of that video. But that is different than like, I will just make the same video over and over again.
Maybe it has to do with kids being overwhelmed with all the info out there.
I don't think it's being overwhelmed with info. I think it's definitely a lack of critical thinking.
Right, because
which is school's fault also.
That's what I would say is like they don't question things. It just accepts as is. Like, this is just
kids are not opposed. Like, the thing with kids, and I can say this like working. So when I like my digital media programs.
By the way, Marta says, or maybe the institution of school is toxic.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's broken. It's terrible. That's why I left. But when I was doing my digital media program, one of the inspiration, like role model teachers that I had when I started that was a band teacher at my school. He not band, but like band music. He didn't get banned from the school. But he when he took over our school's band program, there were 12 kids in it, and they weren't allowed to perform. Like, not even the national anthem at like a football game or something. They were just so bad they weren't allowed to do anything. Just go in the band room and hit the triangle or something. And now, still currently, even though that band director left and there's a new one there who picked up where things left off, they are like regularly ranked nationally. They're constantly on television. I think there's 160 students in the band. And we live in the desert, so when it's 110, 120 degrees outside in the summertime, they're out there like marching their routines. He had it like, if they're traveling somewhere, the kids show up in shirt and ties to get on the plane, like, or else they don't go on the trip. Like, he had these insane rules, but also not insane, but like very, very strict, very, very high level, but also made it very clear that he genuinely cared about the students. And the program was nothing when he took it over. He built it into something. And the thing that fascinated me was how aggressive kids were about getting into the band program. They would stress out about it. They would freak out about it. They would push themselves towards it. And it's like, you know, you're going to have to be running around like 10 hours a day during your summer vacation, right? You know, you're going to have to be traveling, but you can't let your grades dip, because if your grades dip, you're going to get taken out of band. So you're going to be working twice. And like the fact that kids are still to this day tripping over themselves to get in that program and push themselves that hard was like, okay, it's not something that's fundamentally wrong with like kids these days, because if
kids aren't the problem.
Yeah, if the situation's right, as human beings, they will want to push themselves very hard to achieve something. It's getting to a point where it's even okay to push them. It's getting to a point where they understand that that's actually a good thing, and that's where so much just falls short, and it does students a disservice. So that's where it's like absorbing the info. It's like, it's just there's such a lack of critical thinking, and schools are completely to blame. Do you know a lot of English language arts curriculum doesn't even involve reading novels anymore? Like, if you, instead of reading a book, so here we're going to read To Kill a Mockingbird or some classic thing that, yeah, it might seem boring, but it ties into a historical thing or whatever. We're not even going to read the book. We're going to read a couple of selected like chapters or excerpts, and then you're going to take a test on it. And now you've done To Kill a Mockingbird. So kids will get from K through friggin' 12 without ever actually reading a novel, and be able to pass everything with A pluses if they wanted to. But then they get into the world and it's like, yeah, why can't this person function properly? They were never really taught to. They were just taught how to pass this test. So it's not that the students are wrong. It's like talking about computers, right? You have a brand new, beautiful computer system, and if you just load it with junk spam software, you're going to be like, why is my computer bad? It's like, the computer's fine. You put really bad software into it, and like, that's the problem.
Burnout before millennials was pretty much a signal of someone who was going to quit or start doing the bare minimum. Millennials et al. Seem to see it as warning light of losing passion or purpose.
I think millennials are much more concerned with the idea of even paying attention to passion or purpose than prior.
Yeah, because see, that's why burnout to me, in the context of creator, is different. I feel like it's not understanding, because there's no prep. Like, okay, Gina, let me just pull this up, because I'm probably never gonna find the tweet. But this is how I feel about a lot of platform gurus.
I remember you showed me this, but I don't remember the exact wording of it. It's interesting to watch you navigate.
Yeah, good luck trying to find this, because they've just been promoting this study, as you can see.
I'm like getting dizzy from scrolling here. I know you guys can't see it, but it's for the best. No, we're just looking.
I'm never gonna find it.
Well, this is old. This is from October 4th.
Oh.
Here, I'll search. You talk about it, and I'll search for it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that when it comes to creator burnout specifically, I don't think it has anything to do with passion or purpose, because I feel like
I found it.
I almost feel like that is like level 1, you know, because if you make a video and you enjoy it, cool, you'll make more videos. But if you don't like making videos about the thing that you're making videos about, you will stop. You won't even get to burnout. You'll just stop because you're not interested in the thing. Like, your passion definitely has to drive you through the first couple levels of this journey. And
that's where, like, in the traditional job market, you're like, are you passionate about, I don't know, stocking these shelves? And it's like, no, but I'm passionate about getting a paycheck every week. So that's going to push me through the burnout of, like, stocking shelves, because I will then get a paycheck for it. But if you're doing something that's more abstract.
Yeah, like, I feel like the burnout comes, it's, what I see is a lot of people who aren't necessarily the most confident person in general give themselves a chance to do something that they are probably the first to do in their circle of friends and family and whatever. They're making a YouTube channel. Okay. And then they try, right? Like they start making videos and they're pushing themselves out of their comfort zone. They're trying something new, and you get over the fear, and the fear very, very quickly, what I have seen, turns into excitement and just almost obsession with this new hobby of like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. You went from not having any YouTube video ideas to a bunch of YouTube video ideas, and it's thrilling and exciting. And, you know, I love seeing that energy. But then you think like, oh, okay, so you just have to make videos, and now you enter the next level of like, how do we even begin to make this a like, how do we make this sustainable? Okay, so there's the promise of being able to earn an income. How? You know, oh, YouTube partner program, I have to get 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 hours of watch time, and then it's not so much about the passion anymore, it's about hitting these milestones and these numbers, and because content creation is one of those things where you can put as much time into it as you want, you can put as much money as you want into it, doesn't mean that you're going to see success. And that is that's a hard, you just have to, if you know that going in, I feel like you can manage your expectation. But if you think that the more content you create, the more successful you're going to be, and then you're not, that's hard, right? And Gina tweeted this. So Gina's the founder and CEO of Mighty Networks. And she tweeted, can you like just show this?
Because... Oh, sure. I was reading Rob's message about, because speaking of someone who has opinions about education, here's Gina's tweet.
So she said, observation, whenever I read insert social media platform best practices, I can't help to see how self-serving they are for the platform and terrible they are for the creator or brand. And honestly, this is how I had to take a step back in October, and a lot of it had to do with this, because I felt conflicted almost being a YouTube coach when a lot of my colleagues who are also YouTube coaches will celebrate like, oh yes, I got a video that wasn't doing that well, 100,000 views or whatever, and then like now it's doing in the millions, and like it's like they're painting success as if that this is the only path to it. And to me, if you can get there, great. But the other thing is this study is saying that with the independent creators in the mix, the true number of creators is far larger than we'd imagine. So Signal Fire put out this study, I think it was last year, that there are 50 million creators. It's the fastest growing type of small business. This study is estimating that number is actually 400 million. That is so much bigger, right? And if more people are going to be creators who are making an income, we are going to have a huge burnout epidemic if this is not a conversation that is being talked about. And I think like, if you are approaching it like, okay, the only way to success is to just amass as many subscribers and views on your platform of choice, I just think that's, if you know that your chances are out of 8 million streamers on Twitch, only 1,900, I would never presume that I would make it. I would never say that I'm going to be the top 1,900. Some people will, like, I'm going to be the best, and I am the best, and I'm going to be up there. Cool.
What's that
I'm
like?
just not, I don't have that confidence. It's not like I don't think I'm capable, but I would rather do something that, I don't know. It's not that I
can't imagine living a life with that level of confidence.
Yeah, that's like crazy too. I can't.
Yeah, of course I should win this.
But if we know that, like, if the economy is shifting to the point where most of the small businesses that are popping up are going to be some kind of content creation type of business, you're gonna have teachers and people who've never gotten a college degree, and career changers and retirees and people of all kinds of different backgrounds and stuff trying to navigate this world. And it's just sad to me to see someone who used to be so excited about this thing that they are passionate about, like they're the people who aren't passionate about it, again, you're just gonna fall off anyway. But if you are passionate about it and you want to share that passion with the world, and you're not seeing success, and it's because you think that you need to have like some crazy number of subscribers, it makes me sad when instead of crunching out more content, we could talk about diversifying your income and talk about financial
it's more
hygiene
like
and
actionable strategy,
business plans, and
which can actually be really fun too.
Anyway, sorry.
Raphael said, if you can't talk about something for 2 years straight, it's not your passion. 36 months is long enough to know if it's working or not. 36 months is 3 years, though.
You have to be like, I mean, I think straight up, you need to be. I think that
all of us have had fleeting obsessions with things.
Passion is table stakes. You're not going to make it. Like, that's just a fact. If you are not super passionate about this, because the passion is what's going to drive you when no one is watching. The passion is going to drive you when negative comments start to creep into your head. Like, it's the act of creating content about the thing that you're obsessed with is the thing that's going to get you going. It has to be, because the other stuff is just icing on the cake. Like, you can't bank on that.
Yeah, that's very true. Robotrix has a simple question that I know it's to you. Dumb question, but short answer. Do creators who keep their older videos up still receive the same money for views? I have a suggestion for future episode. Dumb questions. Oh, that's actually a good idea. Like, dumb questions, but very reasonable questions.
Wait, what's the question?
Do older videos get the same basically payout as newer videos?
I have no idea.
Like, it doesn't. I mean,
in terms of the same, I don't know, but they still get paid out. I just don't know.
Yeah, it goes back to the thing of YouTube doesn't care. YouTube really doesn't care what it's showing someone. If it's a video from today, if it's a video from 2 years ago,
right.
Chances are your older videos are not being watched as much, so they're probably not regularly generating as much revenue. But you can.
I have a LinkedIn video from my freaking. It was like it must have been my second tutorial probably. I look totally different. I'm in my apartment with like the worst lighting ever, and it's one of my most popular videos on my tutorial channel. That's still getting AdSense. So
my Mac Mini's paid for itself, thank goodness, which is great. Here's Rob. Because schools are teaching for national tests, not actual curriculum. I am Rob. I am running for Scottsdale School Board. I approve this message. It's true. They're teaching for national tests, not actual curriculum, and you have highly educated individuals as teachers who are not given the leeway to actually teach.
Yeah.
But that's a topic for another day as well.
Yeah.
And probably another channel.
I want to see the Robs for School Board channel. I think it would be like very educational, purposeful, but also very entertaining in the way that you talk about your opinions, Rob. So please, for me, make this channel. Let's see.
Yeah, context. Several people in that chat said, like, yeah, we homeschool our kids for these reasons. And exactly, because obviously, like, homeschool always brings up the discussion of socialization and that kind of stuff, which is just, I've seen people be excellent at that. But it's sort of like a chicken egg thing, because if you're the type of person that's going to homeschool your kid anyway, you're probably the type of person that even if they went to public school would be providing enough enrichment outside of school that they would, like, end up doing, it's like the fact you're worried about it means you're fine.
Right. The fact that you're even asking, concerned about it, asking the question.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
How do you feel about that?
I don't know. It was interesting. I had fun.
Yeah, we went places.
We did. Shared some thoughts, tears, laughter, joy, etc. Dogs got bored and left. And
one's right there.
Oh. Sorry, it's hard. I'm like Batman. I can't turn my... Oh, he's got his tongue sticking out.
Well, that was fun, guys.
So it's time to clear a table then?
Yes, I think so.
All right. Well...
Yeah.
Thank you guys for spending your time with us.
Yes, we're at 70 episodes, by the way.
Oh, speaking of episode numbers, this weekend, probably on Saturday, I'll be recording episode 100 of my podcast, which Heather is gonna help me out on. And it's going to be a Q&A episode. So if you want, you can go to my Twitter or YouTube channel community page to submit questions, or I'll put out a call tomorrow on Instagram for questions. So keep an eye out for that.
All right.
You guys have
Good to see everybody.
rest of your week. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.